When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
It's Swipe Right Week on the Elias Macko Show. If you can believe it, singles have been swiping right for a decade. Tinder launched in 2012, and just 2 years later, the app had 1 billion swipes. Since then, it has spawned a plethora of copycat apps. Every day this week, we'll tackle a different angle of dating apps, their successes, failures, and place in 21st century society and dating. Today, we look at how dating apps may actually be more detrimental to women's happiness than beneficial, making them less likely to find long-term partners and more prone to sexual violence. With more on this, we go to Nancy Jo Sales, a New York Times bestselling author. Latest book is called Nothing Personal: My Secret Life in the Dating App Inferno. Nancy Jo, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi.
Let's talk about the Inferno here. Well, you know, the title says it all of the book. Why was it a dating app inferno?
My book was a memoir of my own time on dating apps, but also an investigation into the exploitative practices of these companies, which, you know, are now a multi-billion-dollar industry. And I've reported a lot about how, you know, there's not enough attention paid to the harm that is coming to their users, I think especially women.
And Nancy Jo, these apps, they in various different ways, and whether it's Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, there's so many others I could mention as well. They say, well, we care about users' safety, and we're going to do this, and we're going to verify that. In practice, though, Nancy Jo, how do they do?
They do next to nothing to help users with their very real concerns. And I would say the main really serious problem is sexual assault and rape that happens on these apps. We have, pretty reliable statistics that say that about 1 in 3 women who uses a dating app has been sexually assaulted. And of half of the people in one study who responded that they'd been sexually assaulted, they were talking about rape. So these are, something that these companies don't have to address because of Section 230, which is a law in the United States that says that these platforms are not responsible for the actions of third parties on their platforms. So they don't really have to do anything. So what we see is that they really don't. A lot of it's window dressing and just marketing, but they don't actually, even respond to users sometimes when they make a complaint about something that's happened to them. They say, call the police.
Nancy Jo, let me play devil's advocate here, which I hate to do sometimes, but I'll do it here anyways. Let's say the dating apps didn't exist. People would be meeting in other ways. These things would happen if dating apps didn't exist, if people were meeting it with other methods, right? So
what was interesting about the study, though, was that I'm referring to was that we saw a higher rate of sexual assault and rape on dating app dates than in the general population.
Do we know why?
Well, I've written about that. I do think that I've written about that, and there was a study in the UK by the law enforcement in the UK that said that there is an assumption among some men, some straight men, that when they swipe right and have a match, that's like equal to consent. There's a psychological idea that the psychological presumption that they're going to get sex from a match, that these devices are supposed to get them sex. And so when they maybe don't get it, they get insistent because they feel somehow that they've been promised it. So that's one theory that is put forth by law enforcement in the UK, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately,
Nancy Jo, it does make a lot of sense when you hear that explanation. So, what could dating apps be doing to counter that?
I don't think they will do anything to counter it, and I think that really, unfortunately, it's more about users raising awareness and becoming, protective of themselves. A lot by just not using the apps. I mean, I don't see that a lot of good comes from them. Of course, there are people who will tell you, oh, I went to a Tinder wedding, or I met somebody who got married on Bumble. I mean, even a broken clock is right twice a day. You know what I mean? It does happen. But, these companies really put forth very faulty promises of long-term relationships. I mean, their marketing teams would have us believe that everybody who swipes right is walking off into the sunset with their soulmate. But it just isn't the case. According to a 2020 study by Pew, only 12% of Americans overall and only 39% of online daters have married, I'm quoting right from Pew, have married or been in a committed relationship with someone they first met through a dating site. So this really does not recommend these sites as leading to relationships, which most people say is what they are seeking. There's value to many people in just a hookup, and there's nothing wrong with that. But most people really do want relationships and think, based on the marketing promises, that they're going to get them through these apps, and it's just not happening in real life.
We are with Nancy Jo Sales, New York Times bestselling author. Speaking of bestselling books, Nothing Personal, My Secret Life in the Dating App Inferno is Nancy Jo Sales' latest. So, Nancy Jo, let's talk about, finding love, right? I mean, there's a reason why everyone ends up on these apps, or a lot of people end up on these apps. They do genuinely want to find love. But as you mentioned, you outline a pretty good case about how they actually don't do that. I should point out, on our Swipe Right week that we've done so far, we talked about fraud yesterday. We're discussing with you today. And then in the rest of the week, we're going to have some good stories as well. The so-called Tinder weddings, the people that have found the love of their lives here. Now, you did a documentary.
That's fantastic, and I'm happy for those people. But those people are in the minority. They don't represent data. They don't represent the overall picture. But, hey, that's great. But I think that we need to be looking overall at what most people are experiencing, and that is sexual harassment, harassing messages, feelings of loneliness, addiction. I mean, these apps are designed very pointedly to be addicted. I've written about that. It's a section in my film. I did a documentary about online dating called Swiped, hooking up in the digital age, which you can still see on HBO Max and other HBO platforms. And there's a big section on exactly how the addiction element of this works. So my feeling and what I see is that the companies really don't want people to get married, because that's sort of antithetical to their business model, which is to get you addicted to their app and to stay on their app, to essentially have a relationship with the app itself.
And that's right. Once, if you do find someone and you get into a committed relationship, you are no longer using their products, which is interesting. But having said that,
I don't mean to interrupt, but actually that's a problem too, because once you're addicted to something, the pathways in your brain don't stop having you be addicted just because you walk down the aisle. There's a lot of people on these apps who are married and are looking to cheat or, have something. And cheat, I mean by that their significant other doesn't know about it. They're looking for relationships that their person who thinks they're in a committed relationship with doesn't know about. And there's lots and lots of married people on these apps, especially men, I have to say.
So, but on that aspect, Nancy Jo, is that part of it? Can that be fixed by a better app? Like, some apps don't do the swipe right; they do other ways of matching, and they limit the number of matches. Is there a way that with technology and designing an app, a different design, you could fix that problem?
Well, Justin McLeod, who founded Hinge, he actually read an article that I wrote in 2015 and decided that swiping itself was the problem, and he eliminated swiping from Hinge. But I think that there are other bells and whistles that do occur on these apps. I mean, that really is their business model. That's the model of almost all social media, and this is a form of social media. They want you to engage with their product as much as possible. So I don't think that technology can find you love. I just don't think it works that way. I think it's a really nice idea. It's an exciting idea. Oh, wow, finding love, which goes to the heart of who we are as humans. the need for love, the need for connection, is so central to who we are. And that's one problem I really have with these companies is I feel that they prey upon this very human need for love and connection, promise things that they cannot deliver, and actually make it more difficult for people to connect.
Nancy Jo, this week I wanted to make sure when we touched this topic all week long that we did, the good, bad, the ugly. I'm so happy you came on this week to add your perspective. It was needed. I appreciate you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Nancy Jo Sales, New York Times bestselling author, her latest, Nothing Personal, My Secret Life in the Dating App Inferno.